In Panama, various sectors continue to protest in several cities in rejection of measures announced by President Laurentino Cortizo. The President of Mexico, Andrés Manuel Lopez Obrador, met this Tuesday with his U.S. counterpart Joe Biden, where they discussed migration, security, and economy as central issues. The value of the euro reached parity with the US dollar, raising fears of a recession in the European bloc due to rising inflation and the energy crisis. Hello, welcome from the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Panama, various sectors continue to protest in several cities in rejection of measures announced by President Laurentino Cortizo. Trade union organizations marched to the National Assembly to demand a reduction in the price of fuel and the cost of living. The workers called for an indefinite work strike until their demands are met. In this sense, protest leaders are calling on the government to resume dialogue in order to address the main demands of the people of Panama. In Cuba, a draft bill on social media has been introduced, and before being voted on, it will be debated among specialists. The announcement was made by the members of the drafting commission. The draft bill has 12 chapters, and it will regulate community, media, and institutional communication. The bill aims at strengthening the culture of dialogue, participation, ethics, and responsibility during the act of communicating to the public. On his part, Cuban Journalists Association Vice President Jorge Legoña Alonso said that this is an opportunity to encourage an effective relationship of all those involved in the communication process.
I believe that education and communication is something that we need, not only at the public level, but also at the institutional and community levels. We have a media-centered vision of communication, a very media-centered vision, and we need to go beyond this. We want to go a step further in communication.
In Brazil, former President Lula da Silva delivered a speech to the people of Brazil in the country's capital as part of the preparation of the election campaign. During the act attended by hundreds of people, Lula referred to the need for Brazil to be a good country. Brazil has to become a generous country again. During his speech, he referred to the theme of the Amazon. The Amazon is our heritage to stand up. Almost at the end of his speech, he said that if he became president of the country, he would seek to create a ministry for indigenous issues, a proposal that was strongly cheered. The President of Mexico, Andrés Manuel Lopez Obrador, held talks with his United States counterpart Joe Biden on the immigration situation and bilateral cooperation issues. The Mexican head of state proposed a new immigration deal that would allow the arrival of professionals and technicians of different nationalities to the United States. U.S. President Joe Biden said that dealing with immigration is a continental challenge shared by his country and Mexico. Lopez Obrador also recommended establishing controls on gasoline prices and creating projects for greater binational economic collaboration.
And, Mr. President, this is a relationship that directly impacts the daily lives of our people. And despite the overhyped headlines that we sometimes see, you and I have a strong and productive relationship.
In spite of our differences and our grievances that are not easy to forget, neither with time nor with good intentions, on many occasions we have been able to meet and to work together as good friends and true allies.
St. Lucia confirmed the presence of new Omicron subvariant BA.5 involving a 36-year-old woman from Vieux-Fort with no travel history. The case was reported by the Caribbean Public Health Agency after genomic sequencing was used and suggested in-country transmission and the presence of other cases. The Ministry of Health is also monitoring the multi-country monkeypox outbreak and has increased its surveillance for early detection and management of cases. We'll take a short break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back from the South. During a television interview, Pope Francis said he keeps good human relations with the people of Cuba and with Raul Castro.
I love the Cuban people very much, very much. And I had very good human relations with people from Cuba. And I admit, with Raul Castro, I have a human relationship.
Pope Francis said he was happy with attempts made by Cuba and the United States to have a reapproachment.
I was happy when this small agreement was reached with the United States, which President Obama wanted at that time. And Raul Castro accepted it. And it was a good step forward. But it stopped now. At present, I don't know if they are conducting exploratory dialogues to bridge the distance. Cuba is a symbol. It has a great history. I feel very close even to the Cuban bishops.
For the first time in 20 years, the value of the euro and the US dollar is the same, raising fears of a recession in the European bloc due to rising inflation and the energy crisis resulting from US and European Union sanctions against Russia. The Eurozone economy is more vulnerable with an inflation rate of 8.6%, threatening to prolong and provoke the fear of recession. Compounded by rising energy prices due to the effects of sanctions against Russia, the regional bloc's main energy supplier, the fall in the value of the euro against the dollar is already being felt in the European community, with Europeans paying more euros for every liter of gasoline or for products and services that depend on imports in an economy where 50% of imports are denominated in USD. Analysts say two factors could hit the EU economy: the cost of energy and the economic slowdown. The United Kingdom's Labour Party's plan to hold a no-confidence vote in Boris Johnson and the government has been blocked by ministers who control the House of Commons timetable. Downing Street said it would allow time for a vote of no confidence in the government, but not the Prime Minister. A spokesman said the Prime Minister had already said he would quit, and a vote would not be a valuable use of members of Parliament's time. Erskine May, the Bible of parliamentary procedure, gives example of previous confidence motions but doesn't set precise rules for what could count as a no-confidence vote. However, Deputy Speaker Nigel Evans said the government had concluded that Labour's motion could not be considered as such.
Today, it is about the intro pillars that underpin our great democracy.
Meanwhile, 8 Conservative MPs will vie to become the next Prime Minister. The Conservative Party announced Tuesday, with front-runner Rishi Sunak launching his campaign by saying he would not demonize the outgoing Boris Johnson, despite triggering his fall. Former Finance Minister Sunak, his successor Nadhim Zahawi, Foreign Secretary Liz Truss, former Defense Minister Penny Mordaunt, and former Health Minister Jeremy Hunt all received the support of more than 20 MPs, the threshold required to enter the race. They are joined by outsiders Kemi Badenoch, Suella Braverman, and Tom Tugendhat in Wednesday's first round of voting, where at least one will be eliminated.
Proposed by Simon Clarke, seconded by Therese.
Heat wave in Europe, temperatures of up to 45 degrees Celsius are expected. Governments in several countries are drawing up plans for the first national heat wave emergency that would cause, at least in some regions, widespread disruption to schools, travel, and health services. The high temperatures are being closely monitored by the European Earth Observation Program Copernicus, but so unusual is the situation that it is not yet clear to German meteorologists how hot it will be. Specialists currently don't expect warmer weather until early next week, but the models are still very inaccurate 7 days ahead of time. But there are increasing indications that unusual temperatures could occur in Central Europe. In the Iberian Peninsula, wildfires continue to ravage Portugal and Spain amid a heat wave that weather forecasters have warned could last at least until the weekend. Both countries started the week battling a number of wildfires, and authorities said the sweltering conditions could worsen the danger. Portugal could get the highest temperatures where hundreds of wildfires tried to tame blazes that forced the evacuation of dozens of people from their homes. On the other hand, the second heat wave that Spain is suffering so far this year is intensifying the risk of fires in several autonomous communities in which the temperature exceeds 40 degrees Celsius. The fire has so far devastated some 50 hectares of pine forest, forcing the evacuation of the surrounding urbanizations. Belarus criticized the Western policy against Russia and warns against NATO's plan to start a full-scale war in Eastern Europe. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko said that Western countries, led by the United States, are systematically and methodically destroying the world security system, even against their own national interests, and claimed that NATO is forming armed groups in support of neo-Nazi ideology. The president criticized the war policies of the West, which could bring the world to the brink of a war where there will be no food system, and urged the international community to avoid more conflict. On Tuesday, Russia's defense minister said it keeps records of and is able to track mercenaries in Ukraine. Russian Defense Ministry spokesman Igor Konashenkov also said that Russian Iskander missiles have destroyed the launchers of the US-made Harpoon anti-ship missile system in the Odessa region, a claim that has not been independently verified. The Russian Defense Ministry also released footage of what it says are combat helicopters in action during the special military operation in Ukraine, and again neither the date, location, or conditions under which the video was made have been independently verified. More news coming up after a final short break, so don't go away. Welcome back from the south. Hungry and desperate, 170,000 displaced farmers from Rutshuru and Nyiragongo on the Congolese side of the Great Lakes are begging for the humanitarian assistance they have not yet received. Our correspondent Oscar Repeldo with the details.
This is the main road in Rutshuru that was being repaired. It is an important road for the whole of North Kivu, as it is an alternative transport route to the outside world, to the one that passes through Rwanda. This is Kiwanja, a safe place.
We are suffering a lot here. No food. We are sleeping badly. There is no way to get water. We have no food to take care of ourselves and cook. There is no food. We have to go begging to get it.
This is Rugabo 2 Stadium in downtown Rutshuru. They have been arriving here fleeing the insecurity since the M23 fighting started at the end of March. According to the camp chairman, 1,384 families are here and they are still arriving.
They've built these hangars, but there is no food, and you can't sleep well here. This is how we lived when we escaped. The women lie down on this tarpaulin they have spread out. I came here in March. Malaria is hitting us hard.
Wasn't there a program to distribute mosquito nets?
No, they haven't brought any.
They have abandoned their crops. They have their children out of school with continuous pregnancies. How can they feel about it?
I am already traumatized, not knowing if we can go back to our homes, if we can still live in our land and dream of a good life or live well, if we can still sleep in our beds. We are lost. We don't know.
They have already been registered by the international humanitarian agencies, but so far they are only receiving health care. Niransaba Florence escaped from Jomba first to Tamugenja and a week later escaped from there to reach this stadium.
We escaped again. This is my fourth try. We need to return to our land. Look how we sleep here without our children.
Hunger is killing us. We are farmers. So far, they have only given them this identification. Nothing more. They come to make the children dance and then they leave. But there is nothing in terms of education.
All the displaced are asking to return to our lands. We know that they have taken our crops, they have taken our mattresses and everything else, but we want the land. We want them to help us to end the war in our land. But if we have to starve to death, let it be while we are cultivating our land.
Without access to resources and impoverished, they wait for the promised food aid to arrive. But so far they have to venture out during the day in search of food, especially the women. Men are taken away, and if they can't take you, they don't let you live. They just kill you. During the last few days, fighting has ceased in the border territories from which they are escaping. But the M23 maintains its position, and no one knows yet what will happen tomorrow.
When there is a war, it is difficult for us African women, especially Congolese women, because of unwanted birth. And a serious thing it is where they stay, that we, the women of Kiwanja, get our food. What is a trade? And since it becomes a trade, do we all benefit from it?
The difference so far is the unity of the communities and the awareness of the stagnation and death caused by the war, which does not speak its name, which only benefits those who plan it.
Desde Ruchuru, Crispín Vano y Óscar Repelde para TeleSUR.
The Ethiopian government entrusted a UN agency to rebuild some of the destroyed infrastructure in Tigray region in conflict as part of a project funded by the World Bank. The institution awarded a $300 million grant to Ethiopia, funding a project to help conflict-affected communities in the country. The project aims to rebuild infrastructure destroyed by the conflict and improve access to basic services and make it easier for victims to access assistance programs. An agreement calls for the UN agency to implement the activities defined by the first objective of the project in the Tigray region until the situation improves. In Saudi Arabia, nearly 1 million Muslim worshippers from various regions gathered in Mecca to participate in the closing of the Hajj pilgrimage. Around 900,000 pilgrims gathered in the Valley of the Mine, east of the Masjid al-Haram in Mecca, participated in the stoning of the fourth day as part of the activities and rituals of the festival. The Muslims faithful performed the farewell circumambulation, which consists of throwing 7 pebbles, concluding the ceremony under an atmosphere of tranquility and peace. Pretoria authorities arrested 2 individuals in connection with one of the 2 shootings that plunged South Africa into mourning over the weekend. A total of 19 people died after unknown assailants opened fire on Saturday night, apparently at random, on the patrons of 2 bars, one in Soweto, a suburb of Johannesburg, the other in Pietermaritzburg in the east. In a statement announcing the 2 arrests without further details, the Ministry of Home Affairs said it was first step towards holding to account all those who organized the country's deadliest weekend. TeleSUR English continues to grow. Its signal now reaches Europe. You can order from your cable dealer, tune it yourself. These parameters that you see on screen are in place since July 1st. Quite soon, further changes will be implemented for the signals in the Middle East and Africa. Now more than ever, the world connects to us and our stories are heard in other faraway nations. This news multi-platform will continue providing truthful content to oppose the hegemonic media's narrative and our faithfulness to our audience. We have come to the end of this news brief. Remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.